It's Thursday, August 15. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is warning against high secondary registration fees. He was speaking at the 2019 Primary Exit Profile Awards function on Wednesday.
One of the greatest threats, I think, to that is this growing culture, and it has always been in the system, of charging obligatory prohibitive fees. Now, Jamaica attained universal primary education more than 130 years ago. In other words, we were able to get all our children into primary schools. And we've been doing that now for over a century. What is emerging now is that primary schools are beginning to charge fees. They are not calling them tuition fees. But whether it is ancillary or auxiliary or registration, whatever fee it is, I'm putting the primary schools on notice that there are many parents, and I'm not now speaking as Prime Minister, I'm speaking now as a Member of Parliament. I'm seeing an increased number of requests for assistance to pay for registration packages.
The Prime Minister noted that some schools carried more expensive fees, and it created a sense of exclusivity with a promise of better academic performance. He said that the desire of parents to get the best out of their children was driving them to pay the excessive fees.
I am not saying that the parents must not contribute, but sometimes we miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to make sure that no child, regardless of the income status of their household, is in any way deprived of education. Now remember, at the primary level, the criteria for enrollment should never be that the parent can afford it. The criteria for enrollment is your proximity to the school. The introduction of these kinds of fees is going to change that. Because whilst you may not deny a child from going, when the parent hear, well, this is the registration fee, they say, you know what, I'm not going to bother to send my child to that school. Let me find a cheaper school. And so, I totally sympathize. I understand what the principals are trying to do. It's a competition. They all want to improve their schools, but it cannot be at the expense of having every child being enrolled with an equitable chance.
Mr. Holness reiterated the point that education must not be distributed by virtue of the income status of a household. He said last year the government spent $34.1 billion on secondary education. Whilst conceding that this is still not adequate, he urged school administrations to adhere to the policy of universal secondary access for all children. The Ministry of Education says there has been a decline in passes in mathematics and an improvement in English language passes in the May-June sitting of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate Exam, CSEC. Minister with responsibility for education, Carl Samuda, yesterday revealed that preliminary figures show that mathematics and English recorded passes of 54.6% and 82.6% respectively. This represents a 3.2 percentage point decrease in mathematics passes and a 7.4% increase for English language. There were also noted improvements in the sciences and some mathematical-related subjects. Male students recorded higher percentage passes than females in 4 subjects in the 2019 Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate examinations. The 4 subjects are agricultural science with 98.8% for males compared to 97.3% for females. Biology with 77.2% for males compared to 76.7% for females. Chemistry 68.4% for males compared to 66.1% for females. And music with 80% for males compared to 72.8%. However, females outperformed males by 2.3 percentage points in additional mathematics. In other news, casual workers at the JISCO ALPART Alumina plant in Nain, St. Elizabeth should know by month end whether or not they have a job. Consultations on improving production continue between the government and the Chinese-owned company. A team headed by new chairman of JISCO Iron and Steel Group, Dexon Chin, which has been in Jamaica for the past week, having discussions with stakeholders, including Prime Minister Andrew Holness, would have returned home last night to complete the deliberations and make a decision on the future of the plant by later this month. In a release yesterday, Mining Minister Robert Montague said that his ministry had taken note of concerns raised in the media about the status of the JISCO operations. He said that the negotiations were at a delicate stage, and as such, details of the issues could not be divulged at this time. The president of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, CBU, Gary Allen, is urging regional governments to be more proactive and play their part in ensuring the continued viability of Indigenous media. Mr. Allen, speaking Monday at the opening of the CBU's 50th Annual General Assembly in San Andres.
This is a time of challenge. This is a time of challenge for Indigenous media. And as we deliberate what we have come here to talk about, we hope that we will find different approaches to take on these challenges. Because deep within these challenges, there are also opportunities for us to take advantage of.
He stressed that the push for universal access and connectivity for all must not be an end in itself, noting that the media must pay attention to what happens after connectivity, what content they will connect to, connect with, and what content will people be connected by when universal access is secured. Mr. Allen furthered that access is important in times of emergency and disaster, as nations of the region rely on these Indigenous media for vitally needed services. The Lakes Pen Road Municipal Boulevard intersection in Portmore St. Catherine will remain without traffic signals for at least the next 2 weeks. The National Works Agency's Communication and Customer Services Manager, Stephen Shaw, explained that the traffic lights had to be decommissioned earlier this week to facilitate the widening of the roadway at the intersection. How do we define nutraceuticals? Today, they have become even more popular due to their positive medical effects. Let's learn more about nutraceuticals, how to use them, and how they affect our lives. Scientists and researchers say nutraceuticals may be used to improve health, delay the aging process, prevent chronic diseases, increase life expectancy, or support the structure or function of the body. Now, scientists are not necessarily against the use of nutraceuticals, but they are cautioning against uninformed usage. Dr. Shara Watson from the Scientific Research Council, SRC, explains this and more.
Nutraceuticals are basically food that serve another function besides giving you nutrition. So they're classified as, some will call it functional food. So it has some amount of health benefits in addition to providing you with nutrition.
Ginger is known for being a very good stomach ache remedy when beaten, boiled, sweetened, and sipped hot. It soothes upset stomach and is great for treating nausea and gas. Aloe vera. This wonder plant is used for a myriad of health problems and conditions. One of the most common uses is that of a laxative, where the gel is blended with orange or another juice. Aloe vera cleanses the stomach, intestines, colon, and blood, and is also great for controlling dandruff and soothes sunburn and other skin irritations. Castor oil. Although not recommended to be taken internally in large quantities, in body care it is used to relieve arthritis and other body aches and pains.
Let's get back to Dr. Watson's explanation on the difference between food and nutraceuticals.
Nutraceuticals differ from food as well to some extent in terms of how they're presented or packaged, and the information that is related to that particular product also differentiate a nutraceutical from a regular food.
Should we choose natural products rather than chemically developed ones?
I'm a chemist by training, so I don't necessarily have the same perception when you talk about chemicals that someone else might have, because I understand what chemical, really and truly, everything in the world is made from chemicals. I remember in high school when we just started doing chemistry in third form, and they tell you that the world is made up of matter. Everything is matter. What is matter made up of? Matter is made up of molecules, and these molecules are what you call chemicals. So chemical is a very broad term which relates to synthetic compounds and natural compounds. So that's where the difference really is, whether it's synthesized, a synthetic compound, or it's a natural compound, a compound that is extracted, isolated from nature. But they all can be called chemicals. Now, in terms of making the decision whether you want to go the natural route, a compound or a chemical that is naturally derived versus a synthetic, it comes down to the pros and cons and what it is exactly that you're looking at. Now, nutraceuticals in general are used and have effect over a long-term period. They are not necessarily recommended for acute conditions or conditions that you need an impact right away, immediately. For example, if you're having an asthma attack, taking a herbal product sometimes might take a longer while for you to get the impact that you need. You might have to take it over a long period of time. While if you take a ventilator, it's within seconds, you're getting that impact, which could mean the difference between life and death. One of the major argument as it relates to the push towards going natural and nutraceutical is the side effects that a lot of pharmaceutical or isolated, purified, synthetic compounds might have versus the nutraceutical or natural remedies. The side effect or impact tend to be less with your organic and your natural-based products versus your single pharmaceutical molecule. So that's one of the advantages and why there's been a push towards that side. However, when we're making a decision, we have to make it conscious and well-informed in deciding which way to go. Of course, there's a huge interest now in cannabis-related products, but I caution everybody where that is concerned. The CLA is the authority that is overseeing everything cannabis-related. People sometimes don't realize that there can be adverse effect from using natural products, you know. One of the most toxic compounds known in the world is isolated from nature, right? That product that is used in Botox, it's a naturally derived compound. It's one of the most toxic compounds ever. And persons need to be aware that even though it's a compound from a plant or isolated from nature, it does have dangers too, so you have to be responsible where that is concerned. So Guinean weed is one of those that you have to use with caution. It has compounds in there that can cause blood thinning. So if somebody is already taking a blood thinner and then go and use this particular product, you could have serious adverse impact. But nonetheless, it has a lot of potential, strong scientific data to support its use for various activities, which include anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antiviral activities. So for when we had that whole incident with Chick V and Zik V, Guinean weed was one of those plant material that was heavily used in helping to combat those issues. Other plants include your fever grass or lemongrass is one of those plant material that is heavily used because of its high fragrance and flavor. So you find it in a lot of food-based products as well as personal care products.
Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and diesel effective today. That's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Pbcj. As of Thursday, August 15, 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $126.19 and $129.03 per liter respectively, down by $3.06 each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $129.44 per liter, following a decrease of $2.04, while ultra-low sulfur diesel is down by $2.05 and will be sold for $133.58 per liter. Kerosene decreased in price by $2.71 and will be sold for $108.56 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $38.49 per liter, down by 99 cents. And butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $41 per liter, after a decrease of 65 cents. Do remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. The US dollar on Wednesday, August 14, ended trading at Jamaican $135.72, up by 23 cents. And that's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. Meanwhile, the Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $102.42, up from $102.41, while the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $163.23, up from $162.16. In regional news, the Guyana High Court ruled Wednesday that the house-to-house registration exercise being conducted by the Guyana Elections Commission, JISCO, is not unconstitutional or unlawful. Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire said in a ruling lasting just over 2 hours, in which she also rejected the application to set a date for elections by September 18 this year. She said it was not for her court to set a date. This comes 3 months after the country's highest court, the Caribbean Court of Justice, had validated the no-confidence motion that effectively brought down the David Granger government and made it a caretaker administration. Attorney General Basil Williams welcomed the ruling.
First, one would need to read the judgment and make that determination as to where and whether one should seek to appeal. So we'll have to look at the judgment and see and make that determination. The body, though, JISCO, as I said, who has the remit to conduct these elections and also national registration. What is important is that the Learned Chief Justice held that the house-to-house registration that is being currently conducted by JISCO is not unconstitutional, as was contended. So it's a lawful exercise by JISCO. And she had a caveat about horses not being taken off the register unless they're dead or migrated in that scenario.
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has named Junior Finance Minister Alison West as the new Public Administration Minister after he had temporarily taken up the portfolio following the sacking of Marlene MacDonald earlier this week. MacDonald and several others, including her husband, Michael Carew, have appeared in court on several offenses of conspiracy to defraud the government. She has been placed on a $2 million bail and is expected due back in court in September. A brief statement from the Office of the Prime Minister said West, in addition to her new portfolio, would also continue to serve as minister in the Ministry of Finance. She spoke to the media after her announced appointment.
It's a new challenge. I'm looking to see what difference I can make in the short time that I have. I would like to be able to make a positive impact in the IT world. Free Wi-Fi areas, better coordination of the IT system within the government, wider use of e-payments, that kind of thing I'd like to focus on.
In the meantime, opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilai says that the ruling party, the People's National Movement, has collapsed and that the Prime Minister should call elections. He says with Marlene MacDonald fired and with the resignation of Senator Garvin Simonet because of a past conviction, Rowley's leadership was in question. He was speaking on CNC3's Morning Brew program.
Dr. Rowley's leadership faces today the sternest test of his leadership. And quite frankly, I share the view of the opposition leader that the government has collapsed. They are holding on, I think, by their fingernails at the edge of a cliff now, and they are marking time. And Dr. Rowley should now consider strongly whether or not the next letter he sends to the president is a letter to dissolve the parliament and call a general election.
Still in Trinidad, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is calling for a united front to oust the government People's National Movement from office. CNC3's Jesse Ramdio tells us more.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar has announced a plan to rescue a nation she described as in crisis under the PNM. To achieve her mission, she's hoping to recruit a group her then People's Partnership government fell out of favor with, the Labour Movement.
And so we will continue to work with the Labour movement. We will work with advocacy groups, yes. We made some mistakes, but I promised them that we must work with all the advocacy groups, the NGOs and the CBOs. We will work together, and I will listen to you to craft a way forward for our future.
But while extending the olive branch to the Labour leaders at the Gasperlo Secondary School on Tuesday, she also bid farewell to long-standing party member and Tabakit MP Dr. Suruj Rambachan. The former Works Minister announced he would not be seeking political office again, ending nearly half a century in politics. Meanwhile, as she lamented the challenges faced by local government councillors because of limited funding, Persad-Bissessar said the problem links back to the government's mismanagement of the economy.
You know where the overdraft is today total? $40.2 billion. This is under your red and ready. Talk about prudent. They maxed out the overdraft, they increased the limit, and they've gone beyond the fumes and spending, and then they raided the HSF, they raided the NGC. And today, what do they have to show for it? Nothing. Nothing.
Persad-Bissessar said things had become so difficult in the country that parents were not able to afford school books for their children.
In sports, in athletics, JOA President Christopher Samuda is pleased with the performance of Jamaica's team at this year's 2019 Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. Jamaica sent its largest contingent yet, entered the most disciplines and garnered the most medals in the history of the regional competition, with a total of 19 medals. 6 gold, 6 silver, 7 bronze. Team Jamaica surpassed the previous record of 14 medals. 2 gold, 4 silver, 8 bronze, set in the 1959 at the Chicago Games. Samuda stated, quote, "This is what progress is all about," end quote. And in football, FIFA boss Gianni Infantino got a first-hand look at a new sporting academy in St. Lucia. Here's more in this report from Choice TV.
This has been the media's first glimpse of what the National Sports Academy will look like when it comes to infrastructure. On Saturday, Prime Minister Alan Shastney, SLFA President Lyndon Cooper, and consultant Don Lockerbie took the presidents of FIFA and CONCACAF on a tour of the facility.
We went to show the president of FIFA the new sports academy we're doing in Grosley, where we're going to have over 40 kids who are going to be residing at the school, and we have another 80 kids who now have signed up who are going to be day students to be part of this sports academy. And the first team that's going happens to be the under-15 boys football team. And then eventually to get the girls in as well. And so coming also now to this FIFA facility here, and then being able to show what we're doing in Soufriere, what we're going to be doing in the two Mikus and Denry, and our plans for the rest of the country when it comes to football, was just really an exciting time to have both he here and Victor, who is the president of CONCACAF.
The president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, says that the tour of the National Sporting Academy was a welcomed part of his visit.
We are investing together with the federation and with the government into women's football, girls' football, boys, youth, men, women, building pitches, building infrastructure, and ultimately doing something great for the community, the society in St. Lucia, but also for the top level through the academy and through the results and investment in the youth sector. So extremely positive. I think that St. Lucia has and can be and has to be an example not only for the region but beyond the region on what is done in football. I'm very, very happy today.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.